Now, Hoosiers play at 6:30. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. 6:30 against Little Rock.
Darrell
And
Walker. They're not very good, right? What's Indiana favored by 25?
I think
Indiana. What's the word on Galloway's knee? Is he gonna sit out again, or does anybody know? And B, how concerning is Trace Jackson Davis's back situation?
I don't know that it's just one of those things that you don't want to be lingering.
Right.
That needs to get. He's going to have to let it heal at some point, and they've not had any time off here of late. It's just been bang, bang, bang,
right.
And this continues now because you've got this Wednesday game, this Friday game, and North Carolina comes up next Wednesday. So they had that week off, a little bit ago, but I don't know enough about it, and they don't generally share a lot about injuries. So it's either.
I mean, they could sit Trace Jackson Davis for one of these games this week, I think, without any concern.
I would sit him for maybe both of them if it's not, depending on what it is. If it's something you want to get healed, sit him. You don't need him in these games.
Right.
And if you do, then you've got bigger problems. I think sitting him would possibly be good for the team because it would force them to find different ways to score and defend and to overcome adversity, because Trace Jackson has been the guy in every freaking game, which you expect that when he's your superstar. But at the same time, we had Xavier had a good game, but the thing that has given me a little pause is in every game, it's been 2 to 3 of the starters have had really bad games. And it's been that way every game where 2 or 3 guys are shooting, 70%, and the rest of the team is shooting 25%. While that brings the average up, it looks nice. It's not. So when you get against those bigger teams, it's going to show much more prominently, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, they got enough depth to survive that right now, and Renew's obviously ready to play in especially in these 2 games this week. It wouldn't hurt to give Duncombe a little bit more time, because I think he's going to be somebody you might need in the Big Ten, because as we've talked about before, the Big Ten is the one league where you do have these big bulky centers that he can go in there and maybe give Indiana 8 to 10 minutes of defense and rebounding. And without Galloway, I think we saw Sunday, and we've seen in other games that CJ Gunn is ready for more time. He looks like he has a much better offensive skill set than any of those guys in that group. I mean, I don't think he's physically ready yet, but Caleb Banks looks like he's got quite a few in his toolbox. He's good. He shot that 1-3 from the corner with confidence and made it, and he's not afraid to attack the basket. Now in the Big Ten, I think his ball handling might be exposed a little bit, and his lack of physical strength wouldn't hold up, but he looks like a kid who's got a lot of – I mean, the freshmen all look like they're going to be contributors at Indiana.
Absolutely. Well, the 2 already are, as you said, and the other 2, CJ Gunn and Caleb Banks, are definitely very talented and are capable of playing. They just need seasoning. CJ's defense has come along. That was his biggest knock, but in the last game, he really was aggressive defensively, and it showed because his stat line was pretty much empty. He was 2 of 7, I think, but early on it was empty, but he had already made a lot of contributions before making a single mark on that stat line. And so when you see that, that's when you know, okay, now you're seeing player development, which is a crucial importance, because that's one of the things we talk about with Indiana football, the lack thereof. You've got to see player development. So if CJ Gunn's getting better, if Caleb Banks is getting better, and Logan Duncombe continues to get better, this is, next year and the year after that, that's how you continue to propel a good, solid program. And Indiana looks to be on really good footing right now from top to bottom.
I mean, Gunn looks like a guy, if he really develops, he could be a 3-year starter. And he looks like the best potential shooting guard they've had since James Blackman. And in some ways, he could be a better player than James Blackman because he's bigger and he's a more willing defender. We all know that Blackman, a lot of Ole moments on defense when Blackman was in there. He made up for it because he was, a really good scorer, but he wasn't stopping anybody in the defensive end. And the other team knew it, and it was straight line drives right past them. I think CJ Gunn can defend, and we haven't seen a consistent outside shot from Geronimo or Bates or Galloway yet. Not saying it's not going to happen, but Gunn looks like he's a better prospect as a shooter than any of those guys.
Oh yeah, Galloway is going to be an okay one backup, but his shooting has improved.
It has,
but he's not the CJ Gunn. I mean, CJ Gunn is the guy that I went and saw play high school ball, and he could score 18 points in the fourth quarter because he's got that in the moxie, the confidence, and the ability,
and the size. I mean,
his length, his arms. That's what's going to make him a defender as a guard.
Yeah, if he develops, he can be a matchup problem for any team. I mean, because if you're going to play against Indiana with small guards and he develops the way he looks like he could, I mean, that's a tough matchup for the other team.